Ever wonder how really tiny, almost invisible changes can lead to absolutely incredible results? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into James Clear's Atomic Habits to uncover a really powerful secret, the art of getting just 1% better every single day.
And it all kicks off with a story. So I want you to imagine a kingdom with a very strange and, let's be honest, a completely terrifying tradition for every new person who takes the throne.
The rule was simple, and it was absolutely brutal. It didn't matter if you were the best king they'd ever had, you only got to rule for 5 years. That's it.
And what happens when your 5 years are up? You get exiled. You're sent away to this dense, incredibly dangerous jungle, a place where, you guessed it, no one had ever made it out alive.
Now, facing this pretty grim reality, what do you think most of the kings did? Yep, they just accepted it. They basically decided to live it up, squeeze every last drop of luxury out of their 5 years in the palace, and just ignore the terrifying future they knew was coming.
But then a new king was crowned. And this guy, he was different. He totally understood the rules, and yeah, he was scared out of his mind. But he just refused to accept that fate. He was absolutely determined to figure out another way.
You know, the king's problem really brings us to a choice that you face every single day. Are you just going to react to whatever life throws at you? Or are you going to proactively design the future that you actually want to live in? This really just lays out the two different ways of thinking, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the old kings, just living for today, accepting their circumstances. But then, on the other side, you've got the wise king, and he started preparing from day one to completely rewrite his own ending. See, he didn't just sit around in the palace. He took small, consistent actions. He sent scouts into the jungle, then he sent workers to clear it out, he had them build fences, and then he encouraged people to move there, to build a whole new community. So piece by piece, over his 5 years, he turned that place of certain death into his own future home.
And here is the absolute key takeaway from this story. What the king did was just common sense. The other kings, they had the same power, they knew the exact same fate was coming for them, they could have done the same thing, but they didn't. It's just such a powerful reminder that knowing what to do and actually doing it are two totally different things.
So, how can we be more like that wise king in our own lives? Well, it really boils down to 3 incredibly powerful principles from Atomic Habits that can help all of us start designing our own future.
Okay, so when we want to make a change in our lives, where do we usually start? We focus on the results, right? The outcomes. Or maybe the specific actions we need to take. But Atomic Habits says that's completely backwards. Real, lasting change starts from the inside out. It has to begin with your identity, with the very core of who you believe yourself to be.
The power of identity is it's staggering. Get this. There was a 23-year-long study that found people with a positive view of aging lived, on average, 7.6 years longer. Just think about that for a second. Their belief about getting older likely led them to take healthier actions, which completely changed their reality. A positive identity really does drive positive action.
All right, the second principle is all about focus, but it's focused through what's called ruthless elimination. There's this great story about a restaurant owner who was failing because he was trying to run his restaurant and a side hustle with a delivery truck. He only became successful when his truck finally broke down because it forced him to pour all his energy into the one thing that really mattered.
You know, this lack of focus is actually baked into our language now. For 500 years, the word priority was only used in the singular. It meant the one single most important thing. It wasn't until the 1900s that we started talking about priorities, as if it's even possible to have multiple most important things at the same time.
So to get that focus back, you should try the Warren Buffett 25-5 rule. But here's the secret. The lesson isn't just to focus on your top 5 goals. The real magic is that you have to actively and ruthlessly avoid the other 20. Those are the things that will distract you and sabotage your success.
And the third principle. This one unlocks how our habits actually work. Every single habit you have, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, it follows this incredibly simple, powerful 3-step loop. There's a reminder, which triggers a routine, which leads to a reward. And this quote right here, it gets to the very heart of why good habits are so tough to build. Bad habits, they give you an instant reward. Good habits, the payoff is delayed. You don't see a six-pack after one workout, right? But the trick is to use this 3R loop to your advantage. You can actually design your own system to make good habits feel rewarding right away.
So, what does this all look like when you actually put it into practice? Let's break down how one person used these exact principles to finally, after years of failing, build a meditation habit that stuck.
Now, he didn't start by trying to meditate. He started by working on his identity. He completely immersed himself in the world of meditation, watching videos on the science, reading studies, joining forums, talking to people who were already doing it. He was building the belief, the identity, that I am the type of person who meditates.
Okay, then he used the 3 R's to build a brand new habit loop. He linked the new habit he wanted with one he already had. The reminder, making his morning coffee. The routine, to meditate for just the 4 minutes it took for the coffee to brew. And the reward, getting to enjoy that delicious cup of coffee, something he already loved doing.
So, from a wise king building a city to a simple meditation habit, it all comes back to one single core idea. And it's something you can start using the second this is over. It is not about some massive, life-altering change.
It's about this, just 1%. The goal is not to build a palace in a single day. It's to lay one perfect brick. It's about getting just 1% better every single day. Because those tiny, tiny gains, man, they compound into unbelievable, life-changing results over time.
So, just like that wise king who didn't try to build a city overnight but just started by clearing a single bush, the question for you is this. What is your one small action? What is that 1% improvement you can make today to start designing your own future?